Hey, Stuart here with another edition of Backpacking Tips, Tricks, Hacks, Facts, and Etiquette. On today's episode, what to do if a bear pays you a visit while you're in camp. First thing I have to say, as always, your personal safety in the backcountry is your responsibility alone. Do your research, read online, watch videos, but in the end, you'll have to make up your own mind about how you'd behave or act in some of these situations so that you feel comfortable in the backcountry. Do that work now so that when you're out there, you can enjoy this amazing, amazing place and this amazing sport. So let's break this down a little bit. First, let's talk about time of day. What time of day is this bear paying you a visit? Let's first talk about daylight hours heading toward dusk. All right, so lots of light in the sky. You're just chilling, maybe having a zero, and a bear wanders into your camp. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to make this simple for you. In my opinion, in this case, what I would do is I would behave the exact same way in this bear encounter as I would if I encountered a bear on the trail, okay? There's a video here, talks about it. There it is. I'm not going to go through it all again here because there's a full video on it there. But know how to handle a bear encounter and know how to identify your bears. Because as the encounter moves along, you may have to have a different way of handling something like a bear attack. Need to know if it's a black bear, need to know if it's a grizzly, but your behavior at the beginning will be the same. One caveat to that last comment, of course, is that I keep a clean camp. So I have a little checklist in my mind, and certainly if a bear is wandering into my campsite during the day, the first thing I'm going to think of is, did I leave anything out? Is there anything around here that's just attracted this bear into my camp? Typically for me, the answer is going to be no, because I also don't, cook bacon and things like that. So there's not a lot of smells around except me. And we all know the stink is real. So that's the only thing that could be attracting the bear in my situation for the most part is, not a dirty camp, but just curiosity perhaps. Maybe you're set up in a place where the bear's trying to get from point A to point C and you've set up on B, right? So the bear typically wants to go through. Again, you're just going to have to behave in a way that's non-threatening at first, like you would on the trail, and see what the bear is up to. Because, there could be a food source there, depending on the time of year. All kinds of weeds and stuff that bears would be pretty interested in certain random areas of the parks or even the wilderness areas, right? So just kind of make an assessment, but do handle that the way you would if you were on the trail. So now we get to the part that everybody really wants to know about, which is what do you do at night if a bear comes into your camp? Let me say one thing right now. A bear coming into your camp in the middle of the night is never, ever a good thing. This is not expected. It's not what we want. It's even different than dusk or dawn, a time of day when a lot of animals are very, very active, moving around. If it's dusk or dawn, there's still a possibility that the bear might be trying to get through, on its daily routine, let's say, from point A to point C, as I mentioned a second ago. So again, try to assess that situation. But now if we're talking 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and there's a bear in camp, this is a serious, serious situation, and you really should have a plan on how you're going to deal with it. I've said many times in the past that I don't worry when I'm on the trail about bears or anything like that because I've taken all the worry out by preparing as much as I can in advance. And one of the things I like to do is have a setup in my tent that I can reach very quickly. First thing I typically do if it's not raining is I leave my vestibule rain flies open. Well, first of all, it avoids a ton of condensation, especially if you're using a single wall tent. But I leave it open because A, I want to see the view, that's why I'm there. And B, if something's wandering into the camp, it doesn't take me long to go like this. I'm going to see it. Well, if it's not too dark. Typically there's some glow, the starlight and even the planets and things like that. You're going to get a little light typically in the summers in the Northern Hemisphere Rockies. But I want to see what's going on. So beside me in my tent, on my left-hand side, I'll get to that in a second. On my left-hand side, I have my bear spray, my headlamp, my Garmin, and my air horn. Yes, an air horn. Why on my left side? Because I have a left-hand zip sleeping bag. So if I'm going to roll over to get something, I'm going to go like this, unzip. I'm going to grab it with my dominant hand, which is my right hand. I didn't really think that out. It's more to do with the zipper, but it's in a place I know I can grab it really, really quickly and conveniently because what I'm going to have to do is find a way to buy some time to get out of the tent with my headlamp and bear spray and assess the situation. This is how I buy time. It's the air horn. For the love of the Lord, do not use an air horn on the trail. First of all, you can't carry enough compressed gas. And second of all, you'll need a hearing exam by the end of your backpacking trip. These things are loud, like really loud in the decibels. And this is why I have one. Because at night, in remote areas where the bear's not been habituated to sounds like an air horn, this thing is loud and it's sharp and it's quick and it's going to startle the animal. I guarantee you it's going to at least startle it for a few seconds, and that might be all the time you need to get out of the tent with everything I mentioned before, so you can assess the situation and, if necessary, spray the bear. Hopefully the air horn will be enough that the bear has left the area, in which case you're not going back to bed, you're building a campfire if possible, and you're going to stay up for the night. I mean, seriously, we're not going back to sleep, folks. But hopefully the air horn's enough of a foreign sound and an ear-piercing sound. It actually could hurt them a little bit if they're close enough, that they're going to just leave. Or at least, like I said, back away, and then I can assess the situation. And then I have to deal with what's going on. So here's the part that could be slightly controversial. You have to know if the bear's being defensive or predatory in an attack. I'm just going to say right now, in my own opinion, and this is not scientific, but in my own opinion, if a bear is poking around my tent at 2 or 3 in the morning, I don't think it's there for defensive reasons. And since I don't keep a sloppy camp, there should be nothing in my tent that's a serious attractant to that bear, right? No bacon scraps. I haven't covered myself in cheese, right? I don't have my smoked salmon and creme fraiche laying around the tent. I don't have any of that. Camp's clean. I use dehydrated meals. I know how to store my food. I do the best I can. So I doubt that it's going to be a defensive attack. What's it protecting? No, it's there for food. It's there to see if there's something around me that that can be eaten. So in that case, you may have to fight back. It just depends on the escalation. Like I said, if the bear leaves because you scared it to death, okay, great. Probably not coming back unless it's so attracted to something in camp, it just can't help itself. That's why I say you stay up, try to build a fire. They don't like that either. And get through the night, get out and report it to the park. That's important. Always report it to whatever governing authority there is on the land you're on, so that they can assess whether or not they need to do something, move the bear, for example, trap it and move it to somewhere else, so it doesn't get habituated to wandering through human camps, like that black bear at Darling out in the West Coast Trail that they closed it down for a while because the bear had no fear of humans. Doesn't end well for the bear. Typically it ends okay for the humans, but not very good for the bear. There are exceptions, of course. So that's it. If a bear comes into camp during the day, treat it like you would if you were on the trail. If a bear comes into camp around dusk, assess the situation. It could be just like the day on the trail, moving from point A to point C, as I said earlier. Or if it's in camp in the middle of the night, be prepared for that. Carry some stuff, know exactly where it is, and think to yourself, what would I do if a bear was sniffing around my tent? Be careful what you read online. There's advice out there that's telling me that I should lay still and quiet in my tent while some large animal sniffs around outside of it. I read that and I shook my head like, what? Obviously they must be talking about, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry, it's 2 a.m. There's an animal in camp. I'm not going to lay there quietly while it sniffs around my tent. But that's just me. Again, that's just me. I think a bear in camp in the middle of the night is the nightmare scenario, frankly, and not a good thing. So be prepared for that. Do all your preparation at home. Think about what you would do and stay safe, because it's an amazing sport. You can see some amazing, amazing places and reconnect with nature. Just do it safely. That's the end of the bear theme for now on backpacking tips, tricks, hacks, facts, and etiquette. See you next time.